Ma'am, I'm Agent Tyler Moss with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We have information regarding your immigration status. You need to open this door immediately or we'll consider it obstruction.
I'm not opening the door without seeing identification.
Show me your credentials and badge number.
Police interferes with the federal investigation. You'll be arrested.
What's happening? I'm
I'm calling. You're not really. Leave my property.
Mommy, what's happening?
It's
I'm
okay,
scared.
baby. Daddy's coming. We're going to be okay.
Smoke, we gotta go. This is bad.
The homeowner was still holding the phone when the knock came. Not a polite knock. The kind that makes your heart jump. 3 hard slams on the door, then a voice. Immigration. Open up. Maria Benally stood in her living room on the Hopi Reservation. Phone in one hand, her 7-year-old daughter clinging to her other arm, staring at her own front door like it had just become a threat. She hadn't called anyone, wasn't expecting anyone. And the voice on the other side didn't sound like any law enforcement she'd ever dealt with. It sounded wrong.
Ma'am, I'm Agent
too
Tyler Moss
aggressive,
with Immigration and
too
Customs Enforcement.
performed,
We have
like
information
someone
regarding your
playing a
immigration
role
status. You
they'd
need to open this
seen
door
on
immediately or we'll
television.
consider it obstruction.
What the men on the other side of that door
Show
didn't
me your
know was
credentials
that
and badge
Maria's
number.
husband, Officer Raymond Benally, was a tribal police officer currently 6 minutes away responding to a different call. And the security camera Maria had installed after a package theft 3 months earlier was recording everything in crisp 1080p, uploading directly to cloud storage her husband could access from his patrol car. The men thought they were executing a shakedown on an isolated home on tribal land where nobody would interfere. Instead, they were about to be arrested by a Hopi police officer who had zero tolerance for anyone pretending to be federal agents on his land. Before the story goes any further, if you believe people who impersonate law enforcement deserve every year they get, hit subscribe. These stories only matter if people see them. The 2 men at Maria's door were not ICE agents. They weren't federal agents of any kind. They were criminals. Tyler Moss, 34, had a history of fraud convictions in 3 states. His partner, Chen, 29, had prior arrests for identity theft and extortion. Together, they developed a scheme that targeted Native American families on reservations across Arizona and New Mexico. They'd show up at homes in the evening, flash fake badges, claim they were ICE agents conducting investigations, and demand cash payments to resolve immigration status issues or threaten immediate arrest and deportation. They picked isolated homes. They picked families who might be intimidated by authority. They picked reservations because they assumed, incorrectly, that tribal police wouldn't have the resources or jurisdiction to come after them effectively. Maria Benally was 32 years old, a nursing assistant at the Hopi Health Care Center, born and raised on the Hopi Reservation in northern Arizona. She lived with her husband Raymond and their daughter in a modest home about 2 miles from the main village of Kykotsmovi. Raymond was a 7-year veteran of the Hopi Police Department, respected in the community, trained in federal Indian law. The house had large windows facing the desert, a gravel driveway, and that security camera mounted above the front door, positioned to catch anyone who approached. That Thursday evening in late November, Maria had just gotten home from her shift. Raymond was working late, responding to a vehicle accident on Highway 264. Their daughter Emma was doing homework at the kitchen table. Maria was making dinner. The sun had just set, desert twilight settling over the reservation. She heard the vehicle pull up, a dark SUV with no markings. She glanced out the window, didn't recognize it, figured maybe it was someone lost looking for directions. Then came the pounding on the door. The security camera captured everything from the moment the SUV pulled into the driveway at 6:47 p.m. 2 men got out, both wearing dark pants, black tactical-style vests with the word police in white letters across the back, and carrying what looked like badges on their belts. But the vests were wrong, too generic, purchased online. The badges were fake, cheap metal shields that wouldn't pass close inspection. And their body language was wrong. Not the controlled authority of real law enforcement. Too amped up, too eager. Moss approached the door first. Chen hung back near the SUV, watching. Moss pounded 3 times, hard enough that Maria flinched inside. Immigration. Open up. We need to speak with Maria Benally. Maria's first instinct was confusion. Immigration. She was Hopi, born here, U.S. citizen. She'd never had any immigration issues in her life. Her second instinct was fear, not for herself but for Emma. She pulled her daughter close. "Stay in the kitchen, baby. Don't come out." Emma nodded, eyes wide. Maria walked to the door but didn't open it. She spoke through it, her voice steady. "Who are you? What is this about?" Moss's voice came back aggressive and impatient. "Ma'am, I'm Agent Tyler Moss with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We have information regarding your immigration status. You need to open this door immediately or we'll consider it obstruction." Maria's hands went cold. This didn't feel right. Real ICE agents didn't show up unannounced at homes on tribal land without coordinating with tribal police first. She knew that from Raymond. And the voice sounded off. Too threatening. Too informal. "I'm not opening the door without seeing identification," Maria said. "Show me your credentials and badge number." There was a pause. Then Moss's voice again, now with an edge of anger. "Ma'am, you're making this worse for yourself. Open the door or we're coming in. We have authority under federal law." Maria stepped back from the door. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. She grabbed it and immediately texted Raymond. "2 men at door claiming to be IC. Won't show proper ID. I'm scared." The message was sent at 6:49 p.m. Raymond was just clearing the accident scene. He saw the text, and his entire body went cold. While Maria waited, Moss tried a different approach. His voice softened slightly, became almost reasonable. "Ma'am, listen. We're not here to arrest you. We just need to verify some information. There's been a report that someone at this address is employing undocumented workers. If you open the door and cooperate, we can clear this up quickly. If you don't, we have to assume you're hiding something." Maria knew she wasn't employing anyone. She knew this was a scam. But she also knew she was alone with her daughter, 2 miles from the nearest neighbor, with 2 strange men at her door claiming authority. She made a decision. "I'm calling tribal police. If you're real agents, you'll wait for them to verify." There was silence. Then Chen's voice from near the vehicle, quieter but picked up by the camera's audio. "She's calling cops. We should go." But Moss wasn't ready to give up. He'd successfully intimidated families before. He thought he could push harder. "Ma'am, if you call tribal police, that's interference with a federal investigation. You'll be arrested. Open the door now." Raymond was in his patrol car, speeding toward home, lights flashing, calling for backup. His partner, Officer Denise Lomiactua, was responding from the other side of the reservation. Raymond also called the Hopi dispatch and had them contact the nearest border patrol station to verify if any federal agents were operating on Hopi land that evening. The answer came back in seconds. Negative. No federal immigration operations were scheduled or in progress on Hopi territory. Raymond's jaw tightened. Whoever was at his house, they weren't federal agents. At 6:52 p.m., Moss made his move. He tried the door handle. It was locked. He stepped back and kicked the door once, hard, near the lock. The frame splintered slightly but held. Maria screamed. Emma started crying in the kitchen. Moss kicked again. The door frame cracked. Maria grabbed her daughter and ran toward the back bedroom, phone in her hand, dialing 911 as she moved. The 911 dispatcher answered immediately. "This is Maria Benally on the Hopi Reservation. 2 men are trying to break into my house. They're claiming to be ICE, but I don't think they are. My husband is a Hopi police officer. Please send help." The dispatcher stayed on the line. "Ma'am, officers are already en route. Your husband is 3 minutes away. Stay in a locked room and don't engage." Maria locked herself and Emma in the bedroom. Through the walls, she could hear Moss still kicking the door. Then a different sound, splintering wood. The door gave way. Moss and Chen entered the house. The security camera inside the living room, a second camera Maria had installed, captured them stepping through the broken doorway. Both men looked around, saw the empty living room, saw Emma's backpack on the couch. "Where are you?" Moss called out. His voice had lost all pretense of authority. It was just threatening now. "You're making this worse. We just want to talk about payment options. You can resolve this right now with cash." Maria stayed silent in the locked bedroom. Emma pressed against her, both holding their breath. Chen moved through the living room, opening doors, looking for them. Payment resolves everything, he said. $5,000 and we leave. No deportation. No arrest. Simple. Raymond's patrol car screeched into the driveway at 6:54 p.m. He saw the broken front door hanging open, the dark SUV still parked, and his training kicked in over his rage. He radioed his position, confirmed backup was 1 minute behind, and approached the house with his service weapon drawn. He could hear voices inside. Male voices that weren't supposed to be there. He entered through the broken door, weapon up, voice commanding. Hopi police. Show me your hands. Now. Moss and Chen spun around. Chen's hand went toward his waistband. Raymond's voice cut through. Don't move. Hands where I can see them. Both of you. Now. Chen slowly raised his hands. Moss hesitated, then did the same. Raymond kept his weapon trained on them. Who are you and what are you doing in my house? Moss tried to recover. We're federal agents conducting. No, you're not, Raymond interrupted. I already confirmed with Border Patrol. There are no federal operations on Hopi land tonight. Who are you really? The second patrol car arrived, Officer Lomiactua entering behind Raymond. She moved to secure Chen while Raymond focused on Moss. On the ground, face down, hands behind your back. Moss tried one more time. You're interfering with a federal investigation. Raymond's voice went cold. I said on the ground. You broke into my home. You terrorized my family. Get on the ground or I will put you there. Moss finally complied. Both men were handcuffed by 6:56 p.m. Maria came out of the bedroom carrying Emma. She saw Raymond, saw the two men on the floor, and broke down. Raymond handed his prisoners to Officer Lomiactua and went to his family, pulling them both into his arms. It's over. You're safe. They're not federal agents. They're criminals. And they just made the worst mistake of their lives. The investigation moved quickly. The fake badges were collected as evidence. Cheap metal purchased online for $12 each. The tactical vests had police printed on them, not IC. A detail the men thought wouldn't matter in the dark. Their SUV was searched, revealing a lockbox with $8,400 in cash. Money extorted from other families they targeted. A laptop in the vehicle had a list of addresses on various reservations, homes they'd already hit or planned to hit. Maria and Raymond's house was number 17 on the list. The FBI took over the case within 24 hours because it involved impersonating federal officers and crimes on tribal land. Agents interviewed Maria and Raymond. They reviewed all the security footage. They traced the cash and identified 3 other families who'd paid Moss and Chen to resolve immigration issues. All 3 families were Native American. All lived on reservations. All were U.S. citizens who'd been terrified into handing over money to men pretending to be ICE. Tyler Moss and Derek Chen were charged with impersonating federal officers, extortion, burglary, trespassing on tribal land, and assault. Federal charges, not tribal. The FBI wanted them in federal prison where sentences would be long and career criminals would think twice before targeting reservation families again. The trial was held in federal court in Phoenix 7 months later. Maria testified about the fear, about hearing her door being kicked in, about hiding with her daughter while strange men invaded her home. Raymond testified about arriving to find criminals in his house threatening his family. The security footage played on a loop, the fake badges, the broken door, the extortion demands caught on audio. The defense tried to argue the men never explicitly claimed to be ICE, but the prosecution destroyed that. The word immigration shouted through the door. The tactical vests, the fake badges. The SUV meant to look official. The targeting of Native families who might be intimidated by federal authority. The threats of deportation and arrest. The entire scheme was built on impersonation. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The sentencing hearing was packed. The judge, a Reagan appointee named Thomas Crawford, had spent 30 years on the bench and had no patience for people who victimized families by pretending to be law enforcement. You targeted vulnerable families on tribal land, the judge said. You exploited fear of federal authority. You terrorized children. You broke into homes. And you did it repeatedly, systematically, for profit. This wasn't desperation. This was calculated predation. Tyler Moss was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Derek Chen received 7 years as well. No parole eligibility for the first 5 years. When they're released, they're barred from entering any tribal land in the United States for life. The courtroom was silent when the sentences came down. Maria sat with Raymond holding his hand. When the judge finished, she finally exhaled. Maria and Raymond still live in that house. The front door has been replaced with a reinforced security door. They added 3 more cameras. But more importantly, Maria became an advocate. She speaks at tribal community meetings about the scam, about how to verify if law enforcement is legitimate, about never opening the door to someone who won't show proper credentials through a window first. The FBI uses her case as a training example for investigating crimes on tribal land. Years later, when asked if 7 years was enough, Raymond's answer was careful. 7 years means my daughter gets to finish elementary school, middle school, and start high school without those men on the streets. 7 years means other families are safer. Is it enough? No sentence would feel like enough when someone breaks into your home and terrifies your child. But it's something. And sometimes something is all justice can give you. The security footage is still stored on the cloud. The broken door frame is still in evidence lockup. And somewhere on reservations across the Southwest, families who might have been next on that list are safe because a Hopi police officer got a text message from his wife and arrived in time. Should impersonating federal agents to extort money on tribal land carry mandatory minimum sentences? Drop your thoughts below. Because what happened to the Benally family wasn't about bad luck. It was about criminals who thought targeting native families on isolated reservations meant they could operate without consequences. They were wrong. If you believe protecting tribal communities matters and that fake agents deserve real prison time, subscribe and turn on notifications. Tomorrow we're covering another case where someone thought tribal land meant no accountability, until they learned otherwise.